You did it! Congratulations for your successful completion of Buddha's Boot Camp and getting your tush on the cush for 7 days straight. And as I mentioned on day 7, this is just the beginning of your lifetime meditation practice. I wanted to take a moment to commend you for your interest in changing the world by beginning with yourself. I think a lot of us seek change, but we seek it from external sources and we forget the incredible power that we have to activate change internally and externally. So thank you, human to human. Thank you for caring enough to see what happened this week and hopefully for stoking an appetite for continued practice. Please keep in mind that you are not trying to necessarily quiet or empty your mind. You are observing your mind. This is very much a practice of know thyself. And in knowing thyself, you can begin to make changes, move more towards intentionality, perhaps move more away from habit and the regressive behavioral patterns that just seem so ingrained in you, but are in fact not permanent, right? They're not, you're not hopeless in the face of them. So before the practice really begins to bear what you might call obvious fruit, we have to understand what we're working with. And that means observe your mind. Observe your mind and train it by guiding it back to your intentional point of focus. We used the sensations of your breath over and over and over again. And let me tell you, that gets tiring. It's not that exciting, right? I mean, to be frank, it's kind of boring. But what really created a shift for me is when I realized that that effort is, in fact, quite simple. And I took refuge in the simplicity of it because the rest of my life was chaotic and complex. And this was a time where my only obligation and my only responsibility was to keep turning my awareness to my breath. And it's amazing to watch your mind want to fill it up. It's almost like your mind is betraying you. It's that fullness of mind, that constant chaos in our minds that exhausts us and makes us feel stressed and anxious. When we sit and simply observe our minds and witness the current state of our minds, we start to see how much damage we're doing to ourselves by letting our minds run wild like that. So thank you for caring about your own mind in the spirit of caring about the contributions you make to this world we share and we co-create right now. I wanted to answer some very common questions that come up at the end of one of these courses. So if I don't answer yours, please do post it on the Facebook page so I'll have the opportunity to answer it as best I can. What to do from here? One inclination is, phew, we made it through 7 days, now take a break. My advice is going to be tomorrow, get on your cushion and sit. Now, on that note, I have said a few times, and I say it again here, keep experimenting with your rig. I know that seated meditation tends to be uncomfortable for most of us. Please trust me, I care about you. I wouldn't lie to you. It gets more workable. I'm not going to say comfortable because maybe laying in your bed might be comfortable. It's not that kind of comfortable. It's more that your body adapts, and that's something really important to remember about your body is it adapts and it's not comfortable right off the bat. So you want to find something, the word I always use is workable, something workable that like, okay, I can work with this. Not painful, not as comfortable as being in bed perhaps, but workable for the duration that you'd like to sit. And you might need to try lots of different rigs. With the rigs, the company that I like most right now, and the set that I've been sitting on now for the last several years, is made by a company called Half Moon. Half Moon, they're online. They're originally a Canadian company, but they sell in the US as well. You could check it out for my international friends that are participating. I don't know what that would be, but you can at least see the product I'm talking about and maybe find one more local. So Half Moon makes what they call sit sets, and that's the Zafu and Zabuton I showed you in one of the videos prior to the start of Buddha's Bootcamp. So you can go back to those videos and take another peek. But those are what I love now. The US company called Hugger Mugger also makes a sit set that you might like, or that might be cheaper to ship. I don't know. But those are two companies I've used. Prior to this current one, I used Hugger Mugger, and now I love Half Moon. So keep working on your rig. Don't give up because it's physically uncomfortable. I would say this: unless you absolutely have to lay down for physical reasons, don't lay down. Your body starts to think that you're falling asleep, and you probably will. So unless you really just want to sleep, I would encourage you to sit upright. You can use the wall, but I would encourage you to use it kind of like as a tool and not a crutch, if that makes sense. Meaning, I would sit, if I've had any back issues and I wanted to start to strengthen my back, I would sit right near the wall but not lean on it, and then only use it when I felt I absolutely needed to. But ultimately, it would be nice for you to strengthen the muscles of your core. That includes your abdominals, but also your erector spinae group, like the muscles that extend you upward. That'd be nice to get those nice and strong. So laying down, not advised, sitting up, but keep experimenting, and then work with your hips and knees to find a leg position that will work for you. Okay, so then how long? I'm going to say, even though some people say even 1 minute of meditation is enough, I'm not saying I disagree with that. I will say this though: 1 minute doesn't give you a lot of observation time, does it? You might get a little peek, but we're intending to learn something about ourselves. And so imagine you were learning about some other topic and you just got this tiny little blast. Those tiny little blasts can be great, but this is perhaps you learning about the most important thing you could ever learn about. 15 minutes to me feels like a good minimum amount of time, because the other piece is you really do want the grit to arise. I know that sounds crazy. Meditation is supposed to be peaceful, but really what you're learning to do is understand the tendencies of your mind. And at first your mind is probably cool with this and it enjoys meditation. But I'm telling you, as you add minutes, your mind starts to kick back into its habits of aversion and attachment, and then you start to suffer. The physical sensations really start to kick in, and boy, you get to watch how your mind does not enjoy having to just stay. Or how about this? Returning to your breath in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes. That's pretty easy. I'm not saying it doesn't require effort, but I'm saying I believe you can do that with ease. For anyone who wants to know, your sits to here were a minimum of 15 minutes of actual sitting, and 22 minutes was our longest sit. So know that. You've already done it, right? I think 15 minutes is a great minimum for all of you. The grit usually starts to arise, and you can learn something about yourselves. As far as tracking your 15 minutes, I recommend that you use a timer. Without one, it's kind of weird how your sense of time gets skewed when you're meditating. When we're new, every minute might feel like 5 minutes. So you think, phew, that was a good one. That was a long one. And it was really only, let's say, 4 minutes. So the timer on your phone, if you have a smartphone, is perfectly adequate. I would just tell you to maybe like check the timer, not timer, but the sound that brings you out of it at the end of the timer, and make it something pleasant. Some of those are pretty harsh, but try to choose the one that sounds soothing, that could bring you out like a hug or with some gentleness. There's also an app called Insight Timer. Now, Insight Timer has a lot of guided meditations. I'm going to talk about those in the next video. But for now, I'll just say this. They also have just a timer. So no guidance, no voices, just a timer. And that's actually what I use. That's what I used for us this week. And they have a nice sound at the end, which is like a little singing bowl sound. I didn't play the sound for us, but for yourself, that's a really nice way to come out of meditation. So commit to sit every day. I'd say if you can, try to choose early morning. And let's say you work nights, early morning isn't possible. Try to find the time where you're least likely to be disturbed. So for some householders, that's before everyone else gets up. I talked about this in the beginning, so maybe revisit that video. But find a consistent time. I personally feel like the earlier in your day, the better. I find that when I let the day go by, I'm just full of reasons and excuses why I don't have time for this. I also like sitting when I'm slightly groggy, so I do it before any tea in the morning. And that helps. Like, why kick my mind on more before I'm trying to master it? Like, I take advantage of the fact that it's a little slow first thing in the morning. So that's been really helpful. Commit to sit. Remember, this is about mastering your mind over a very long time. I think you're going to feel the most committed when you start to see the fruits of the practice show up in your life. And I just want to say, don't expect those fruits to be huge and succulent right off the bat. It's almost going to be like a whiff of some fruit. There might be a moment, let's say you're in your car, where normally you'd experience road rage. And on this day, because you've been sitting, you don't. It doesn't mean you don't feel the anger, but all of this turning your awareness back to your breath makes you aware of the rage arising, and you make an intentional choice to direct that energy in another way. So be on the lookout for how your practice shows up in your life. And please keep taking advantage of the state of mind that you cultivate in meditation and use it for some further pondering. That's why we did the free writing with the journal prompts. It's a wonderful practice to continue to know thyself and start to align with the person you know you truly are, that you have always felt you were meant to be. Take that opportunity. You sit, you do a little free writing, then be on the lookout for how the practice shows up in your life.